problem, technical problem, so could not hear. Anyway, it is a good experience for me also. To attend such a webinar workshop, but it's a blessing of the COVID-19. Many of the guests speak like this. So this is the diverse new technology, advantage of this new technology. So I think with the help of this new technology, we arrange the workshop. This type of workshop will continue so that we can learn more in innovation or more new technology, especially the sharing the knowledge globally, which is very much helpful. So I'd like to thank all the organizers, my co-chairs, and all the participants. So thank you very much. So to this end, I would like to conclude this session one. If you have any announcement, Dr. Ajit. So thank you very much, and I'm grateful to all of you, especially organizers, to give me the opportunity to share such an important session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for the felicitation of resource person. And yeah, in the virtual mode, we are unable to provide you momentum and certificates. So don't worry, within a week, I will mail you chair, co-chair, and reporter certificates soon after conference within 2 to 3 days. Okay, sir.
Okay, thank you.
So, sir, if you permit me, yeah, can I announce ATDS awards?
Yes. Sure. Sure.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
We have ATDS Young Agronomist Award 2020. It has gone to Dr. Sunil CM. He is working scientist at ICR KVK, USGK Bangalore, India, for his outstanding contribution in the field of agronomy. We have another Young Agronomist Award goes to Dr. Fakirappa Arbhanvi. Fakirappa Arbhanvi, he or she is working as subject matter specialist at Krishi Vigyan Kendra, Gangavati, Karnataka, for her outstanding contribution in the field of agronomy. We have another Young Agronomist Award, Dr. Punubati Hasam. She is working as Assistant Professor, College of Horticulture and Forestry, Central Agriculture University, Pasighat, Arunachal Pradesh, in the field of agronomy. We have another Young Agronomist Award, Dr. Shilpa V. Ghato Choga Tapur. She is working as Research Associate at College of Agriculture and Vijayapur, Dharwad, India. We have another category of the award, AETDS Award, Best Veterinarian Award 2020 go to Dr. Manjusha Ganeshwarao Patil. She is working as Assistant Professor, College of Veterinary and Animal Science, Parbhani, Nagpur, in the field of animal reproduction. We have another category of Young Horticulturist Award 2020 goes to Neha Sinha. Neha Sinha working as research scholar at Bihar Agriculture University, Sabaur, Bhagalpur, in the Department of Horticulture, in the field of fruit and fruit technology. We have another category, Young Horticulturist Award goes to Dr. Lalhim Sangha. He is working as Assistant Professor, Central Agriculture University, Mizoram, India, in the field of horticultural and vegetable sciences. We have another Young Horticulturist Award 2020 goes to Dr. Hasmukh Bhai Nath Bhai Leo. He is working as Assistant Professor at College of Horticulture, Sardar Dantewala, Agriculture University, Junagadh, Gujarat, for his outstanding contribution recognition of the field of horticulture. Another young horticulture award goes to Arya Des Deepak Mishra, working as subject matter specialist, ICR KVK Halkandi, Assam. Another young horticulture award 2020 goes to Dr. Rupender Kumar Jade. He is working as in charge senior scientist and head Krishi Vigyan Kendra 2nd Chhindwara MP in the field of horticulture and food science. We have another category of ATDS award, Young Biologist Award 2020 goes to Patel Neha Kumari Babulal. She is working as laboratory technician at Horticulture Polytechnic, Navsari Agriculture University, Paria, India, in the field of microbiology. We have another category, Young Entomologist Award goes to Dr. Rashmi MA. She is working as Senior Technical Officer Entomology at Regional Plant Quarantine Station, Habal, Bangalore, in the field of agricultural entomology. We have another Young Entomologist Award, Dr. Karu Piva V. He is working as scientist at Directorate of Onion and Garlic Research, Pune, Maharashtra. We have another Young Entomologist Award, Dr. Chandra Deshmukh Bhai M. Another Young Entomologist Award goes to Dr. Karupai V. I think repetition. Another Young Entomologist Award goes to Dr. Sonika Sharma. Dr. Sonika Sharma working as Assistant Professor, DAV University, Jalandhar, India. We have another category of AETDS Award, Environmental Protection Research Award. Environmental Protection Research Award goes to 2020 Dr. Shaikh Tahir Pasha, former SRF Acharya Enjiranga Agriculture University, Andhra Pradesh. He is working on biocontrol of plant disease to save our environment. We have another category of Agroforestry Scientist Award 2020 goes to Dr. Lakshmi Kant Behra, Assistant Professor, College of Forestry, Navsari Agriculture University, India, in the field of silviculture and agroforestry. We have a young Agroforestry Scientist Award goes to Dr. Manas Ranjan Nayak, Scientist Forestry, Krishi Vigyan Kendra, OUAT Bhubaneswar, Odisha Agriculture University, Bhubaneswar. We have Young Environmentalist Award 2020 goes to Babita Kumari, Research Scholar, Veer Bahadur Singh Purvanchal University, Jaunpur, India, in the field of environmental science. We have another category of ITDS Award, Young Plant Breeder Award 2020 goes to Dr. Khushbu Chandra. Dr. Khushbu Chandra working as researcher at Dr. Rajendra Prasad Central Agriculture University, Pusa, Bihar. This award goes her for her outstanding contribution and recognition in the field of plant breeding and genetics. We have another Young Plant Breeder Award 2020 goes to Dr. Akanksha Tiwari. She is working as Assistant Professor at College of Agriculture, Ajamgarh, Acharya Ananda Dev University of Agriculture, Science and Technology, Ayodhya, UP, in the field of genetics and plant breeding. In the category of Young Scientist Award, we have another award goes to MD Mukul Mia. He is working as scientific Research Institute, BJRI, Dhaka, Bangladesh. This award goes to MD Mukul Mia for his outstanding contribution and recognition in the field of genetics, plant breeding, and biotechnology. Another Young Scientist Award goes to Dr. Himmat Bhai Patel. He is working as Assistant Professor at Horticulture Polytechnic, NAU, Paria, in the field of weed management. And another Scientist Award goes to Dr. Hasan Nadaf in the field of entomology. He is working as Scientist C at Central Silk Board, Ministry of Textiles, Chandigarh, Chhattisgarh. Another Young Scientist Award 2020 in the field of agronomy goes to Dr. Majrul Haq Ansari, Assistant Professor, Faculty of Agricultural Science, Aligarh Muslim University, Aligarh. And in the field of veterinary medicine, another Young Scientist Award goes to Dr. Alok Singh. He is working as Assistant Professor, Apollo College of Veterinary Science, Veterinary Medicine, Jaipur, in the field of medicine, veterinary medicine. We have another ATDS award category in the field of entomology, excellence in teaching award 2020 goes to Dr. Sajjad Hussain Mir. He is working as assistant professor, Sher Kashmir University of Agriculture Science and Technology, Kashmir. In the category of Best Teacher Award 2020, Best Teacher Award 2020 in the field of farm machinery and power engineering goes to Dr. Dhananjay Kumar Roy, assistant professor, SK College of Agriculture and Research Station, IGKV, Chhattisgarh, India, in the field of farm machinery and power management. We have Best Teacher Award 2020 in the field of soil science and water engineering. This award goes to Engineer Sanjay Kumar Nirala. He is working as assistant professor cum scientist at College of Agriculture Engineering, Pusa, in the field of soil and water conservation, water engineering. In the field of agriculture entomology, the Best Teacher Award 2020 goes to Dr. Damasia Dilli Bhai Manaji Bhai. He or she is working as assistant professor at Navsari Agriculture University, Navsari, Gujarat, India. And in the category of seed science and technology, the Best Teacher Award 2020 goes to Dr. B. Venu Devan, assistant professor, ICR KVK, Tamil Nadu Agriculture University, Tamil Nadu. In the field of seed science and technology, we have another Best Teacher Award in the soil science and agriculture chemistry goes to Dr. Birender Singh, assistant professor cum junior scientist, VKS, Dumrao College of Agricultural Sciences, Bihar Agriculture University, Sabor, Bhagalpur, India. And in the field of agriculture extension, we have Best Teacher Award, and this award goes to Dr. D.K. Srivastava, assistant professor, BTS College of Agriculture and Research Station, IGKV, Bilaspur, Chhattisgarh, India. We have one Best Entomologist Award in the field of agriculture entomology goes to Dr. P. Mahesh. He is working as scientist at ICR Sugarcane Breeding Institute, Coimbatore, Tamil Nadu. In the soil science field, we have Best Teacher Award, and this award goes to Dr. Shivnath Suman, scientist cum assistant professor, PG College of Agriculture, RPCAU, Rajendra Prasad, Central Agriculture University, Pusa, Bihar, India. Thank you, sir. Dr. Uma, vote of thanks to our resource person. Dr. Uma, kindly unmute your mic. Dr. Uma, kindly unmute your mic and present vote of thanks to our resource person.
Okay. I'd like to convey my vote of my a lot of thanks to Chairman Dr. Noresh Chandra sir, Co-Chairman Dr. Sohail Akhtar, and Co-Chairman Dr. Shri Prabha Vista sir, Reporter Dr. Dinesh Mehta and Dr. S.N. Das sir. We are highly thankful to all of you for technical session 1. Now
So
we are running this session, and we will start next session after some time.
No. Now we are running 10 minutes late. So we are going to hand over.
At least for 5 minutes.
No. Because we have another team for another session. Okay. Thank you all of you. Now I hand over the session to session in charge Dr. Abdul Majid Ansari. Dr. Abdul Majid Ansari, kindly proceed.
Yeah. Good afternoon to all of you in the session 2 of today's past 2020 webinar. Yeah. Heartiest welcome to all of you in the session, the theme 1, innovative approach in agricultural and allied sciences. In this session, we have 3 invited lectures and altogether 23 oral presentations. Now, at the end of this session, felicitation of ATDS 2019 awards. Now, I would like to join our chairman, respected Professor Atia Mansoor Al-Ghayar Shuairi from Giza, Egypt. Yeah. Dr. Professor Atia Ahmed Al-Ghayar, sir, are you listening? Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir. Audible, audible.
Yeah, audible. Yeah. Session chairman, Professor Atia Ahmed Mansoor Al-Ghayar, sir, you are hearing? Yeah. Hello, sir. Now, our co-chairman, Dr. Muhammad Minatullah, Sugarcane Research Institute, Pusha, Bihar. Yeah, co-chairman, Dr. Muhammad Minatullah, sir. Yeah. Hello. And next, co-chairman, Dr. H.P. Meena, senior scientist from IIOR Rajendra Nagar, Hyderabad, from India. And our 2 reporters, Mr. Raghuveer Singh Mena, ARS, Bikaner, Rajasthan, and second rapporteurs, Engineer Jitendra Kumar, KVK Jahanabad from Bihar. All of our committee members are joining. Yeah. Hello.
Hello. Session chairman, co-chairman, reporters, kindly say hi, hello. So that's why.
Yeah.
Hello.
Everyone
Hi, sir.
can
Hi.
see you.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
I am present.
Professor Atia Al-Ghayar, sir, are you? Are you online?
Professor Atia, kindly unmute your mic. We are not audible to you. Professor Atia, kindly unmute your mic. So, Engineer Jitendra Kumar is available, sir.
Yeah, I am available.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
Dr. H.P. Meena, sir.
Yes,
Dr.
sir.
HP?
Yes, sir. I'm present, sir.
thank
Am
you,
I
sir.
audible, sir?
Yeah, our reporter Dr. Raghuveer Singh Meena, sir.
Yes, sir, I am present, sir.
Okay, sir.
Okay. And
So,
Engineer Jitendra Kumar?
so now we can proceed from Dr. S. Ganpati.
Hello. For lead lectures, I would like to invite for first lead lecture, Dr. S. Ganpati Venkat Subramaniam.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now proceed, sir, for your lead lecture. The topic, legal initiatives for the effective environmental governance and for the subsistence of sustainable development by the sustained judiciary in India. Okay, sir. Now proceed, sir, please.
Sir, before that, I would like to know that what is the time limitation, sir? Is it 10 minutes or the 15
Yeah,
minutes?
10 minutes, sir. You have allotted 10 minutes, sir.
Okay, sir.
Kindly complete your lectures within 10 minutes, sir, please.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you very much. And now the time is around 2:45. I will be finishing by 2:55. So, very good afternoon to everyone. At the outset, I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to the organizers of this conference of the Agricultural and Environmental Technology Society and Development, and especially the organizing secretary, Professor Dr. Wajid Khan, who has extended the invitation to give an invited talk. And the respected chairman of this session, respected rapporteur of this session, and I would like to extend my thanks to you also who are going to witness this one. Now the topic is being given to me, that legal initiatives for the effective environmental governance. So from the morning I have been hearing the talks which are all more connected with the agricultural only. In fact, I would like to extend my heartfelt congratulations. The conference was going in a very excellent direction, and it is being organized in a most professional way with a professional acumenship. My congratulations and best wishes to the organizers, especially Professor Wajid Khan, Wajid Hazan, who has been constantly having contact with me. Now coming back to the topic, because the time is allotted only 10 minutes, I would like directly to come to the topic. So for the effective good environmental management, I can say in my opinion that the 3 E's are very, very essential. Of course, the 4th E, which is also very emerging in the recent past, that is in the past 5 years, that is also another E. The first E is supposed to be the education, second one is the engineering, the third one is the enforcement, and fourth one is the economy. It is needless to say that the education, unless otherwise we create an awareness with the people, and then only we'll have a commitment, and realizing that importance. Once the people are having the commitment, means automatically they will not be indulging in any activity that is affecting the environment, and they will not allow the others also. It is just like a justice. It is not the justice done, justice seems to be done. And realizing this importance only, in fact, the Supreme Court in one of the judgment had very clearly given the directions to UGC to make one of the subject, namely that environmental science and engineering, as a compulsory subject, irrespective of what branch a student is studying, and in order to create an awareness and commitment towards the younger generation towards the environmental protection. And of course, that the various government departments have also been given then and there the various directions to conduct the various programs. It may be in the form of a capsule or program to the specific audience like academicians, administrators, adjudicators, or advocates, or even to the specified like doctors, municipal engineers, like that. Or in the special programs like the municipal solid waste, hazardous waste management, or the biomedical waste management and all. So education is eminently essential. And in fact, I have seen several people who are having the streams of degrees and diplomas, but as far as that environmental knowledge is concerned, it is a very poor. In fact, they are making a non-biodegradable, a biodegradable waste, putting non-biodegradable because no one is untying the knot. And several places I have seen, I myself have seen, in fact, the biomedical waste is also mixed with municipal. For example, the diaper, the sanitary napkins, all these things have been mixed along with the municipal solid. Now, second one, that is imparting this education is essential at this juncture. The second E is supposed to be, there is no second opinion over that one, because ingrained the engineering and developing a technology, we cannot have an effective environmental management, whether it is the water treatment or a waste treatment or anything. That I would like to say about just an introduction about the economics, because nowadays this economic regime is slowly ingrained into our enforcement regime, and now they are in fact they are even started putting the charges, whatever that facilities you are going to get because of the good effective environment, and slowly this E is also ingrained into our environmental regime, environmental enforcement regime. Now the topic, since the topic which is given that environmental legal regime for the effective environmental governance. So in that case, I will give more importance with reference to the environmental legislations. Now, for the good enforcement, it is very essential to have a good environmental laws. And for the purpose of enacting these environmental laws, we need a constitution. Whether we are having it means, yes, we are having a good constitution. If anyone could be able to read our constitution, the basic spirit of the constitution is very much advocating this environmental protection. In fact, the justice, social, economic, and political justice are the principle of equity, equality, everything is, you can extrapolate that thing means, with reference to the environment, it is very much advocating that environmental protection. Of course, into the constitutional amendment of the 42, we have introduced 2 articles, 48A and 51AG, thereby made the environmental protection is the duty of the state as well as the duty of the citizens. Coming back to this environmental legislations, we are having a plethora of legislations, both the as well as without the D. What is the difference between the D means? D is an exclusive environmental legislations, whereas the other legislations are indirectly advocating the environmental protection without mentioning the word, or more in the public health and hygiene aspects only. Now coming back to the environmental, apart from that, we are having our civil procedure code, criminal procedure code, Indian penal code, various sections are very much available for the purpose of environmental protection. Now coming to the environmental legislation means namely the Water Act, Air Act, then you come across the Environmental Protection Act, and then National Green Tribunal Act, then you come across the Public Liability Insurance Act and all is there. Now, this specific one of the major importance with reference to this Environmental Protection Act is Section 5 of that Act gives a blank check to the executives to make as and when any rules, regulations, bylaws, notifications and all. Based upon that, nearly 100 notifications or 100 bylaws have also been brought. The most important one are with reference to the solid waste management, municipal solid waste management handling rules, hazardous waste management handling rules, biomedical waste management handling rules, coastal regulation zone notification, and the most important one now that in fact that EIA, Environmental Impact Assessment 2020 notification has been brought, and now it is pending before the Parliament for getting the accent. Now that the public hearing notifications like that, we are having a plethora of nearly 100 notifications or bylaws and rules and regulations are there brought under the Environmental Protection Act. Then we are having the Public Liability Act and all. Apart from that, now that environment cannot be viewed in a what I can say in an isolated way, because there are two domains of the law which has got an international ramification and a global ramification. One is the cyber law, another one is the environmental law. Why I am saying this so means that whatever the development which are taking place at the international level, that has got a direct effect or the indirect effect over the legislation in the country. Even though we can claim that India is a sovereign, socialistic, secular, democratic republic and all, but as far as this utilizing that natural resources and the environment, now that various conventions, protocols, declarations emerged in the recent past, starting from the Stockholm declarations, Rio declaration, then you come across the Nairobi declaration, climate change, Basel Convention with reference to the hazardous waste, then you come across the what is this one, ozone depleting, namely the Montreal Convention, then you come across the like that. We are having the various developments which are taking place at the international level. When we have become the partners or the signatory of that one, we are giving an assurance to the international body that we will be bringing a new legislation in consonance with the agreement we have signed, even including that wetland, that Ramsar Convention. If already there is a legislation, means we have to modify the existing legislation in consonance with the international convention or the international protocol. In fact, after the Biodiversity Convention, we brought the Biodiversity Act. Then after the Ramsar Convention, Wetland Protection Act. Then after the Basel Convention, we brought the Hazardous Waste Management Handling Rules. And after that, Montreal Convention, ozone depleting substances rules, like that and all. Now, what the point I would like to state means, in the international scenario, whatever the development which are taking place with reference to the environment, that we are forcefully we are also obliged to bring a new legislation in consonance with that one. Now, coming back to the fourth part of my talk is that how far the judiciary has played an active role. In fact, we all know what is a sustainable development. The development which is taking care of the present generation without the compromising in fulfilling the needs of the future generation. This is what the sustainable development definition which is being given in the Rio conference in the year 1992. But a student of the law will say that Rio Declaration is only a part of the soft law. So in that case, the soft law is being given the hard law status because of the intervention of the Supreme Court in the year 1996 in the Vellore Citizens Welfare Forum case. Justice Kuldeep Singh has clearly said, as long as it is not contrary to the municipal law, it is nothing wrong in infusing this principle into our domestic legal regime or the municipal legal regime. So what was the soft law has become the hard law by customary international law for that one. Apart from that, various principles like a polluter pays principle, precautionary principle, public trust doctrine, intergenerational equity have all been developed because of the intervention of the judiciary only. Just the polluter pays principle in the recent past, even the big organizations have been fined by using this principle only. You all know what is the effect of the precautionary principle. Various industries have been closed by applying this precautionary principle. Now, finally, in conclusion, because the time allotted is only 10 minutes, now 1 more minute is there. What the point I would like to state here is now most of the things in India, a law is used. Had the law is used as a management tool, we can avoid several litigations. Unfortunately, in India, law is being used as a litigation tool. So after the project comes, several litigations have come. Probably everyone knows about the Sethu Samudram project, Sterlite project, Salem, that 6 corridor project. Then you can come across that the Tamil Nadu government assembly, what is this one, secretariat project. All these things, that is that unless the intervention of the court, it has not at all come. So I can very well quote several things, what are the various drawbacks which are available in our existing legislations. Those loopholes have affected, how far these loopholes have been effectively used by the miscreants. All these things I can able to enlighten, because unfortunately, because of the paucity of the time, I could not be able to do. Finally, in conclusion, I started my talk with the 3 E's, namely that education, engineering, enforcement, and the economy. Now I will be ending with the talk, that is 3 P's are very, very important for the purpose of good and effective environmental management, namely the political will, and the second one is the public participation, third one is the professional ethics. Whatever the thing which you are developing within the laboratory, or whether it is applicable in the land, but in most of the cases, so many projects have been stopped or brought out because of the what is the legal obligation and the judicial intervention also. So in this connection, I would like to state that legal aspects are very, very important. In fact, now several global conventions are restricting our own sovereign, or make inroads into our sovereignty also. So with this one, now the time limit is almost 10 minutes is over. I would like to conclude my talk, and once again I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to the organizers of this conference, especially Professor Dr. Wajid Hassan, for giving me this opportunity. And secondly, my humble thanks to the chairman, co-chairman, and the 2 respected rapporteurs, that is Dr. Meena and Dr. Meena Squire. I would like to extend, and finally my thanks to the audience also. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Saab, for excellent deliberation. Your lecture is highly informative. And now I would like to invite next lead speaker, Dr. P. Ashoka, Senior Scientist and Head, ICR Krishi Vigyan Kendra, Haveri. Dr. P. Ashoka, sir. Now proceed, Dr. P. Ashoka, sir, please. Your topic is enhancing farmers' income through millets cropping system in northern transitional zone. Dr. P. Ashoka, sir, please proceed.
Sir, good afternoon. Are you hearing my voice, sir?
Yeah, of course. Yes, audible. Your voice is audible.
Okay. Good afternoon, Dr. Chairman, sir, co-chairman, sir, rapporteurs, and especially very thankful to Dr. Wajid, sir, give the opportunity. My lead lecture topic is enhancing farmer income through millets cropping system. Nowadays is a very food. You can change the food habit. Is also more important thing the present Indian situation. But Indian situation is more support in 17% in world human population because of Indian agriculture. Out of 15% of world animal population, we have to with 4.2% of only in world water, in world land area. In these things, we have to meeting to 2050 food demand. Out of that food demands, we have to move crops, livestock, avoid further deforestation. Grow more in existing farmland also because of nowadays increases the yield and less productive farmland because of yield gap, more yield gap. Another, we have to lack of in implement of the precision farming system. In that, in Indian difficult Indian situation, you have to more small farmers because of more small and marginal farmers. In that, you have to depend upon the Indian agriculture in backbone of in agriculture. You have to support the in more that. Out of that, 77% of district, you have more in 17% of small world farmers only. That mean you can that depend on agriculture. In that National Food Security Act during 2013, you have to right to food. In that changing the pattern in consumption because of nowadays in 2001 is compared to 2019 to 20, you have to every entire thing is changing the food pattern because of the Food Act. Security is one of the important things that and pulses, oil seeds and minor millets, and then we depend upon the food habit. Out of that, our northern transition zone, you have to receive in 1300 mm rainfall. In that is and soil is shallow to medium. Because south in Karnataka, northern Karnataka is a part of this agroclimatic zone. But nowadays income is, we have to, what we can to double the farmer income. We have to now enhance the income. Definitely we need our Indian Prime Minister, we have to 2022 is doubling the farmer income. That you can name, you have to, based on the field crop, horticulture and cash crop is measured, depend upon you consider support of livestock and fodder. In that based on, we have to, as a KVK senior scientist and head, depend upon these you have to main mandate of the work. Now in that thing, enhance the productivity, reduce the cost of cultivation, crop diversification, value chain development is major dependent of these things. You have to enhance the millets in consumption of the Indian situation. Not only can the income, it is also healthy of the life. These main things of millets is important crop in semi-arid tropics in Asia and Africa. In out of that, major crops in this are suitable for dry land and important for the high-end tribal agriculture. Food security is one of the things. Another you has the require less of water, high resilient adapting different ecological condition. Based on these things, that is the 14th century of BC is recognized of healthy benefits of whole grain. That is also important in millet. You can Buddha was a trace the consumption ragi and finger millet. These also major things of importance of the milletants. These also 7,000 years ago, major in pivot role of rice, multi-cropping agriculture settled the farming society. This is also important thing. Based that our millets is a special future. Definitely grow these millets are less fertile, and also is millets are old, well-known food grains, and is a staple food in poor countries, poor families, and another also different millets have to many things are depend on condition. In our India, top millets producing states in Rajasthan, Maharashtra, Gujarat, in rainfall, some less rainfall area, poor soil fertility is also depend upon our states. This our India is the topmost consumption of millets in the world. You can next followed by next sequence in Ethiopia, some poor countries. These also 72% of millets is produced globally in heat. Out of that, our different state-wise as a productions, you can go for Andhra Pradesh, Rajasthan. We also production is more, but productivity is very less because of less importance of in the agronomic practices in cultivation of these things. Based that in our Karnataka is also in these are based more for 4 millets. We are more in a sorghum, finger millet, and pearl millet is a more area. Out of that, you have to for more 6 millets. We have finger millet, foxtail millet, Borner millet, proso millet, kodo millet, little millet. Nowadays, recently addition teff is one of the important millet crop because of Ethiopia's staple food. Out of that, we are very important special character in millets, high tolerant to alkalinity, and there's both drought and waterlogging. These are also things. Out of that is different names of different millets and special characters. We have to cultivation of importance is very, very important because of aberrant weather situation, low productivity, lack of fielding varieties. You can go for agro techniques. We have to based on depend upon data showing optimum plant population, nutrient management, intercropping system, water irrigation management, and this weed management. Out of that, data sowing is very, very important for the millets because of we have to concentrate on productivity, not for production. Even though production is high, productivity is very, very important. This for a suitability land area. We can kharif crops is a temperate is you can go for these are things. Our different research is also undergo. June 1st is recorded planted grain yield styled is important things. Our colleagues also these things. Another is space and spacing and seed rate is very, very important because of some you can go for use of seed rate because of productivity is of productive tiller is very less. There is also optimum plant spacing. You can go for 15 kg per hectare in 50 centimeter. You can record at plant height, but you can the grain yield is 40 centimeter of row to row is also good yield of these things. Another, you can 20 by 10 centimeter recorded plant height, number of leaves, productive, panicle weight, test weight is also recorded. Research issuable of a foxtail millet is a good responsible. You can go for method of sowing is very, very important because of you have to concentrate more production and productivity. You can go for, you can broadcasting, sowing behind the plow, seed drill, and you can nursery transplanting because of commonly used of foxtail millet, you can finger millet also commonly practices. If transplanting is a well-established seed technique, you can go for higher dream-water accumulation, number of panicles, these things. Another, you can go for 100% of RDF plus 710 in the organic combination of integrated nutrient management. These are very good response of grain yield, straw yield. Our one of the qualif is very good experiment of GKVK. Another is the water requirement of different crops. Our millets is a millet different crop. But even though millets is very, very less water requirement, even though some you can, is it very well, whenever you can requirement of water, you can go for one or two irrigation. Definitely you can productivity is very high. That is also depend upon the high yielding varieties. Another, you can go for intercropping system is a very, very good response because of you have to cropping system is very, very, because of you can peasant piece long duration, you can go for suitability of a different row system. 5:1 ratio is recorded yearly, year length, grain yield per panicle, grain yield and straw yield. You can go for 80 to 90 days of harvesting of millets. Definitely can double the income. That is also, you can equality is very high in Bengal gram. Some you have research issuable, you can KVK is a many frontline demonstration because of our one of the millet is foxtail millet DHFT 109-93 is high yielding and income. You have to farmer major problem is identified. You are conduct the experiment. You have to increase this to 37% of field. Out of that, you can go for demo unit in only 17 quilter. Farmer practice is a low yielding varieties as used and less management practices. You can go for only 12 quintals. This is also income. You have to BC ratio 3.29. This is also one of the income. You can go for processing units. You can millets, you have byproduct for processing. Definitely increase 4.21 to 4.29 as increase the income. That is also one of the important. Farmer is a good response, you can crop stand. Another little millet, DHLM 36- is a national variety, is conducted demonstration, increases the 18.7% of increases the yield. This you can based on, you can, we have to work out the demo unit, net in, gross income, net income, is very response in farmer, we have to happy to. Another, you can cost of cultivation is very less. Even though cost of cultivation very less, we can go for processing. Definitely can, value addition is very, very important. This income generate activity is helpful for the farmer income. Another, you can go for the, these you can, another location you have for DHFT 109- increases to 29% over the farmer practices. Another 173% because of you have to go for intercropping system. You can go for that is all helpful for the foxtail millet is a and red gram is intercropping system. Definitely income in equivalent till 29%. Another, we have to conduct the you can well in field day. You can farmer awareness program. This is also one of the important in enhance the awareness of the millet production. Another, you can go for little millet intercropping system. 156% of increases the yield. You can higher the system productivity yield in 28 quintal. You can over the farmer practices. This is also one of the important conducted field day. But you can why is millets is nutritional quality. That is also very, very important. You can after production nowadays is value addition is more important than the you can production because or we achieve the income. Income we are the plan for doubling the farmer income. Definitely we for millets because of gluten free, effective reduce the blood pressure, risk gastrointestinal condition. That is also another you can help for prevent the diabetes. These are protein, fiber, minerals, iron, calcium. Definitely nutrient content more millets. That is more supporting of the value addition. Out of that comparison of rice and wheat, because of nowadays in India, rice followed by wheat, you can more staple food production. You can compare to these things, protein and minerals, almost millets is higher than these comparing major food. These are challenging of some, we have to go for processing definitely because of lower or absence of production support price, lack of appropriate post-harvest processing technology, competition. These are also important things because of our progressive farmer, you can go for sale, Reliance more market, you can go for the processing value addition. Definitely they got the income. Out of that, our KVK is we have to plan for the millet vermicell. That is an income generating activity. That is a farmer is very good response, finger millet. You can go for vermicell. Definitely you have also profitable things. Another, you can go for these things also income profitable because the cost of production is also comparable to, you can compare to very less. Farmer feedback is upam prepared vermicell is foxtail millet that is very tasty, is very good. Our income generative activity. These are different value addition. Foxtail plus upama, then go for the these important taken vermicell that is definitely helpful the things. Another, you can go for foxtail millet income generative activity. That definitely farmer different millets is also valuable. These are value processing. These also you can preparing processing. That is also you can different income generative activity. This is also our colleague is also effective in management of the income. Definitely farmer is the addition of the income generative activity. These are also different locations. Another, we also made in self employment is also, you can main generating. This is also millet processing. You can farmer you take an own brand. You can for sell the you can market things. This is also economics profitable. You are the KVK in the local language. Another, you can go for some maize based in baked and extruded products in organic millet gall, some local ragi cooks. These are also important products because of breakfast cereals is compared to these things is very, very important things. Another is some we have nowadays is a millets based beverages because of rich in nutrient, gluten free. Definitely for I can somewhere international airport, some market, definitely we go for the farmer is very helpful for. Another thing, you can somehow major product of some foxtail millet, you can malt, ladu, some ragi prepare, roti. Definitely these are some value addition, income generation activities. Another, not only income generation, that is create the employment opportunity of the farmer. These are important milk-based product. Our US, the Raichur is developed. These are some millet things. Somehow income generation, somehow major constraints also are there. Grown on poor, shallow and marginal soils. Other can often broadcast some farmer you cannot management in optimum agronomy practices and also not used for improved varieties. Our US Dharwad and Indian Institute of Millet Research released national varieties in 2013-14. Nowadays is a very popular is released variety of these millet crops. We also strategy of adopted for the focus on low productivity, high potential area. Based on agroclimatic ways we are planning. Promotion and extension is very, very important because of value addition is nowadays very important. Midday meals, government is somehow national policies make definitely helpful for the poor farmers. That's the things. Can these things of farmer income and production is value addition. These are production activities. We have concluded my topic. Millets are amazing crop best suited for dryland area because of in our South India, almost in North and South India, some whatever in scarcity of rainfall definitely is used. Another, you can go for cultivation advantages, research improved in age-old cultivation practices. Still, you have to farmer in lagging behind. This is your population of KVKs and some institute agency supporting of these things you have to finally these things I have to very thank you for attention and give the opportunity. Thank you, Chairman and Co-Chairman, sir. Sarji. Hello, sir.
Hello.
Sir, please.
Thank you.
If nobody is there, please thank you very much for your nice presentation. Now we'll go to next presentation.
MD Hafizul Haq Khan, Chief Scientific Officer, Post Harvest Technology Division, Bangladesh Agriculture Institute, Bangladesh. His topic is effect of processing and drying on quality evolution of ready to cook jackfruit. Kindly proceed.
Do you hear me, sir?
Yeah.
I am trying to present my slide. Honorable Chairman and co-chairs and other guests, welcome and thank you. This is Hafizul Haq Khan. I am presenting the Do you hear me, sir? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are audible.
Can you please, sir, full slide? Can you please, sir, full slide?
full slide.
F5,
Yes.
yeah, F5 or yeah. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. This is Hafizullah Khan, Chief Scientific Officer, Post Harvest Technology Division, Bangladesh Agricultural Research Institute, Gazipur from Bangladesh. At first, welcome all to this session. This is the introduction of my work. I am working on jackfruit. Jackfruit is the most popular and delicious and national fruit of Bangladesh. In Bangladesh, about 7 lakh, near about 7,20,000 tons of jackfruit produced annually, and it ranks the second highest position in fruit production country. It's highly nutritive and it plays a significant role to contribute the nutrition of the people. And this jackfruit is produced in Bangladesh only the season July to August. So there is a big opportunity, a big problem to create a glut in the market. So our farmers cannot get the appropriate price of the jackfruit. On the other hand, the farmer cannot process due to lack of proper processing technology to minimize the economic loss of the farmer. Therefore, we are trying to develop some technologies like ready to cook of jackfruit, which plays a vital role using the green jackfruit. So we are trying to use a green, so we are trying to use jackfruit at early stage like green jackfruit. The title of the work was Effect of Processing and Drying on Quality Evaluation of Ready-to-Cook Jackfruit. The objective was to develop a ready-to-cook and to evaluate the nutritional and sensory quality of the product. We are trying to develop the RTC like this way or method. 60 to 70 days matured green jackfruit was taken, and it was first washed and then make it slices with a stainless steel knife. After slice, the slice was immediately dipped in the differentiated solution to avoid the browning reaction. After 5 minutes dipping, the slice was incorporated to steam blanching for 8 minutes. And after steam blanched, the slice was again dipped into the previous solution to avoid browning again. After 5 minutes, then the slice was washed out and mixed the measured roasted spices. After mixing the roasted spices, the slice was placed in dryer to dry this sample again. After dried, the final product was packed in HDP bag and kept it for 3 months analysis. Now I am discussing the result. This is the treatment of the solution. We have made a treatment to avoid the browning effect of our slices. After taking the The sensory evaluation of the RTC jackfruit at the day of storage, just next day, we are using the sensory evaluation. The T4 treatment was found best. The sensory panel, T4 was chosen best treatment based on the preparation of the panelist, and we are trying to develop our dry RTC using 3 different temperature like 50, 60 and 70 degrees Celsius. It was stored, and after a regular interval, we are trying to analyze the nutritional value of the product. And initially the temperature was, the moisture content was near about 5 to 6%. But increasing with temperature, the moisture content was relatively low. Dry matter content was ranged between 94 to 94, and TSS was found 4.1% degree Brix. After 3 months, we found that moisture content was slightly increased and dry matter also slightly increased. TSS, it is also slightly increased. This trend was found also after 4 months. D2 was found the best D2 treatment was found best. In table 3, it is noted that total acidity, pH and ash content of the RTC after different storage period. Here we see that total acidity of the RTC was more or less equal. pH is relatively negatively correlated with Ta, total acidity. Ash content, here we found that ash content initially found highest in D3, that means 70 degrees Celsius. After 4 months, after 3 months, D3 treatment shows the highest result in total acidity, pH and ash also. After 6 months, total acidity was found in D1 3.35. It is the highest. And also in pH 5.6, and ash content also found in both D1 and D3. In case of nutritional value, we found that vitamin C was found in 37.5%, and in case of D2, more or less all the parameter was highest. This is the nutritional value chart after a storage period of 6 months. We have found that D2 performed the better in all cases. That means vitamin C, beta carotene, water activity, and energy. We found water activity is lower in D2 treatment. So we can tell it that D2 treatment still performed better. In case of minerals, we found that D1, that means 50 degrees Celsius temperature, the minerals, calcium, magnesium, potassium, phosphorus, sulfur, sodium, copper, iron, magnesium, zinc, and boron, all are found in highest over temperature 60 and 70. The mineral content after 3 months and 6 months, there is no difference. This is the texture analysis graph. We found that D3, that means 70 degrees Celsius temperature when we use to dry the RTC, the sample was very hard. D2, 60 degrees Celsius temperature when we use, it shows that the texture and the product is relatively low. The hardness of the RTC was found lower in initial 50 degrees Celsius temperature. Here we see that the KMS residues of RTC in the product just initial and after 6 months. If we see the chart, we see that initially the KMS residue level of KMS was high, and after 3 months, the residue level become low, and it was found that after 6 months, the residue level become very low. So in this case, we can tell that after a regular interval, the KMS residue level become lower to lower. This is the thiamine flavonoid total FIC and DPP content of the product. Thiamine content was found in fresh jackfruit to 129. And in case of RTC, dried RTC, it was slightly lower. In case of TF, total flavonoid, a little bit difference between fresh and RTC jackfruit, but it is not statistically different. FIC, it was found the same trend in this experiment. DPPA is also found higher in fresh jackfruit and lower in RTC jackfruit. This is the color changes. When we use the high temperature, the lightness of the product is more high, and when temperature is increasing, it was found that the product become brown, so the light intensity become low. in case of sensory evaluation of the jackfruit, we use a sensory panel. The taste and other sensory parameter was observed. We found that D2, that means temperature 60 degrees centigrade. When we use 60 degrees centigrade temperature, it is found overall acceptability 7.79%. 7.79. And in case of 6 months interval, it is also found in same pattern in D2, 7.79. So we can conclude that D2, that means temperature at 60 degrees Celsius, it is much better to dry the RTC of green jackfruit. This is the pictorial view, green jackfruit, and in this we are dry the RTC. In case of, in conclusion, we can see the green tender jackfruit treated with 1000 ppm KMS and blanching for 8 minutes on steam blancher, and 60 degrees Celsius was when used for drying the RTC, it is acceptable by the panelist. And the storage life of the RTC jackfruit could be extended up to 6 months. And RTC not only reduce the cooking time, but also reduce the hassle of the panel peeling and grinding. So there is a great scope to create a processing techniques to use the green jackfruit as vegetable for our working people. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Saab, for your nice deliberation. Dr. Khan from Bari, Bangladesh. He is working as a Chief Scientist Officer, Post-Harvest Technology Division from Bangladesh Agriculture Research Institute. Now, Dr. Khan, you have done excellent presentation. Now, today's session.
Dr. Majid, can I interrupt you? We are running 32 minutes late.
Okay, okay.
Sorry.
Okay, okay. Dr. Majid, thank you. Now, I would like to call our chairman, co-chairman, and rapporteurs. Are you listening, chairman, sir, and co-chairman?
Yes, sir. I am there, sir. Dr. Meena.
Oh, Dr. Meena. And
yes,
Dr. Muhammad Minnatullah is hearing. Listening? Are you, Dr. Minnatullah, sir? Okay. And our rapporteurs, Dr. Jitendra.
Dr. Minnatullah, kindly unmute your mic. Dr. Minnatullah, I request you to kindly unmute your microphone.
Hello.
Yeah. Yes, sir. We can start oral presentation, and strictly we have to follow that timing actually.
Okay, okay.
It's better. It's better. Yeah, it's better that we go to directly results, not introduction. No need to introduction.
Yeah. Now allotted only 5 minutes to the presenters for presenting their.
7 minutes is okay.
7 minutes is okay, sir. But
7 minutes is okay.
But no need to introduce that presenter. Directly we can go to that presentation.
Okay. Direct and discussion also within 7 minutes. Any query, any discussion. Okay.
Hafiz sir, please close your screen. Hafiz sir, please.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Start.
Yeah. First
Please.
oral
Yes.
presenter, first speaker is Syed Abdul Hassan Hussaini.
Yeah, he is absent.
Yeah.
He is absent.
Okay, then you go to next.
Now next, Dr. Sujan Majumdar, scientist, ICR, Indian Institute of Vegetable Research, Varanasi.
Yeah, he is available.
Yes, sir.
Available?
Yes, sir. I am present.
Dr.
Yes,
Sujan
sir.
Majumdar. Yeah, now start
Yes.
Dr. Sujan Majumdar, please.
Hafizullah Khan sir, please close your screen, please.
Yeah.
Actually, earlier speaker does not close his screen, so I am not able to sharing my screen.
Yeah, Dr. Khan
Yeah, I
from
will do.
Bangladesh.
I will do.
Okay,
Hassan
Dr. Wazir.
Mazumdar. Hassan.
Yeah.
Hassan Mazumdar.
Sujan Majumdar, na?
Yeah.
Dr. Sujan Majumdar. Dr.
Yeah,
Sujan
No,
Majumdar.
Hafizul Haq Khan. I think I am right.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. Change to attendee. Now you can.
Yeah, screen is some screen. Okay. Okay, Dr. Wazir. Now proceed, Dr. Majumdar. Please.
Yes, sir. I am trying to share my screen.
Dr. Mazumdar, now you can share your screen.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
At bottom center, you just click screen sharing from your laptop. Share your screen. Green. Okay.
Dr.
Mazumdar.
Yes, sir.
In the center, there are one icon, share screen, green
Yeah,
one. Yeah, or you can, if you are unable, you can use Alt plus S. Alt plus S.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Dr. Mazumdar, you can start. No issue. We have a little time. Otherwise, we are getting late.
Yeah, it is not
already
coming.
37. No issue. You can continue. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it
Dr. Mazumdar,
yeah.
Kindly stop share and share your PPT. Firstly, you have to open your PPT on your desktop sidewise. Yeah, then at the time of screen share, you have to select that one only.
Yeah, it is open only, but it is not coming.
No issue, you can proceed. We are running
Okay,
30
sir.
minutes late.
Okay, sir. Yeah, I started. Anyhow. Actually, respected chairman, sir, and co-chairman, and all the dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen, very good afternoon to all. Actually, my topic is field evaluation, residue, and safety evaluation of fluorocarbon in okra. Here, I have studied the field bioefficacy evaluation of different pesticides like chlorantraniliprole, flubendiamide, emamectin benzoate, and spinoside. After their bioefficacy evaluation, we have also conducted the study that whether their residue level up to the harvest level, what is the status. For this study, bioefficacy field evaluation conducted in in the field of ICR, IIPR field, and crop is taken crop was taken okra. The variety is Kasit Pagati. We have applied the 3 spray after 7 days interval, and chlorantraniliprol doses we have chosen 30 gram AI per hectare, flubendiamide 39.35 SC at the rate of 4 gram AI per hectare, emamectin benzoate is 8.5 gram AI per hectare. After spraying, we have taken the bioefficacy data, and also we have harvested the fruits for the evaluation of residue of chlorantraniliprol, and sample are collected in 1 day, 3 day, 5 day, 7 day, 10 day, and 15 day, and 21 days after the final spray. Final spray means after third spray. After we have coming to the result in bioefficacy evaluation, we have found chlorantraniliprol 30 gram AI per hectare was found to be best against the Aedes vitella. And that is chlorantraniliprol caused 32% on the number basis, and 96% reduction of fruit damage over the untreated control after 3 rounds of insecticide application. And natural enemies, in case of natural enemies safety, we have found all that among the all treatment, chlorantraniliprol treatment is the best suitable treatment for the natural enemy. And coming to the residue part, residue analysis part, we have extracted and cleaned up the sample by using the ethyl acetate as a extracting solvent. And for the cleanup, we have used the primary, secondary amine, graphitized carbon black, and after that we have filtered and injected into the GCECD, gas chromatography microelectron capture detector we have used to analyze the chlorantraniliprol residue. And we have found that RT10, which is nearby 21 minutes and 21 minute RT retention time, we have found the chromatograph for chlorantraniliprol. And for the method validation of chlorantraniliprol, we have studied recovery study, LOD, LOQ, and all those recovery parameters. And we have found that recovery is almost more than 84% in all the sample. And residue also dissipated VDL level, means below detectable level after 15 days of the spraying. After 15 days of the spraying, we have not found the chlorantraniliprol residue. And that these studies also shows that chlorantraniliprol analysis revealed the residue in okra fruit oil below the MRL level after 1.1 days of the last spray. That is our MRL value is 0.6 milligram per kg. That 0.6 milligram per kg means 6 ppm. Then we have also studied the consumer risk assessment, and it is also found that all the picking days it is safe for the consumer at the rate of 30 gram AI per hectare if we use for the disease pest management in okra. Coming to the conclusion, this whole study is I have concluded in 3 points. That is, among the all treatment, chlorantraniliprol, emamectin benzoate, flubendiamide, among the all treatment, chlorantraniliprol is found to be best for the management of okra pest. And in case of residue level, after 1.1 days, you can consume the harvested product. Means before 1.1 days, means before 1.1 days, it is above the MRL limit, but after 1.1 days, it is below the MRL level. So overall conclusion, there is this insecticide can be safely used for the okra fruit as does not seem to pose the any problem to health of the man and environment. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much for a nice presentation, and you took very less time also. So now we'll go to next presenter. Who is next, sir?
Yeah, next is Ranjan Kumar Singh. Ranjan Kumar Singh, KVK Nawada.
Yes, sir. I am sharing on my presentation, sir.
Yeah. Now start. Proceed, Ranjan Kumar Singh, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. Today I am going to present my research work topic title, Phenological Study of Chironji Fruits at Chota Nagpur Plateau region. Mainly Bushneria legend, this is commonly known as achar or chironji, belongs to family Anacardiaceae. It is the main dry fruits used in the Jharkhand region. Significance of present work is chironji contributes significantly toward the collecting livelihood forest travels. No cultivated commercially at present. This can contribute in doubling income of forest-based farming community. Understanding the tree phenology, changing climatic condition, we need to identify the superior genotype. It's a standardization of multiplication technique for large-scale multiplication of superior genotype. Our objectives are to characterize the phenology of chironji under Chota Nagpur condition, to study the chironji as a fruit species, and to find the best propagation method of the chironji. These are already design we have done. Our working area is the Palamu Latehar region of the Jharkhand plateau. It is distributed in the mid region of all over the India. In Jharkhand plateau, it contributes about 10% of the forest produce. These are our work topic study, different study topic. Phenological characteristic of chironji, study on propagation of chironji, and study of chironji as a fruit species. These are the different parameters we have taken in study 1, study 2, and study 3. In flower initiation, we have seen that in year 2015, flower initiated in second week of December, but in 2016, it comes in third week of December due to the minimum temperature in the year 2016. These are some photographs of the flower initiation. But in flower opening, it is significantly different. In the year 2016, flower opened started in second week of January, but in 2017, it started in fourth week of January due to low minimum temperature in the year 2017. These are flower photographs of flowers. These are the black color development in 2016 and 17. Black color development show the maturity stage of the chironji crop. You can say the Bushneria legend. If you are considering the panicle length, we found non-significant different genotypes of the chironji. But when we are studying the number of flowers and pseudo flowers, on overall 10% flower is perfect flower, and ratio of perfect and pseudo perfect flower is 1:10. Number of fruits per panicle, there is significant difference in fruit per panicle between different plants. Minimum 29.5 is observed in BL10 and minimum 29.50 in BL3. There is significant difference in fruit length between different plants. Maximum that is 1.2 in observed in BL4 and minimum 0.97 in BL7. There is significant difference in fruit width also. The maximum is 1.11 observed in BL3 and a minimum in BL7. There is non-significant different fruit weight, non-significant in fruit yield. But when we take the observation of pulp weight and a percentage of pulp weight, we found that there is significant difference in pulp weight. Our maximum that is 0.65 gram is observed in BL01 and minimum that is 0.52 gram is observed in BL7. There is non-significant difference in stone weight. Kernel weight, in the case of kernel weight, there is significant difference that in maximum is 0.13 gram in observed in BL9 and minimum in 0.10 gram in BL5. When we standardization of propagation, there is significant difference between direct sowing of seed between the different plants, that is 5 days, 10 days, and 30 days after removing from the fruits. Maximum germination is observed, that is 52% 5 days after removing the seed from the fruit. That is BL9, shows maximum germination. But when we soak the seed in cold water after removing from the fruit, it is observed that the maximum germination is observed that is 56.5% in 5 days after removing the seed and minimum in BL2. There is significant difference when we soak the seed in hot water after removing from the fruit. We also find that after 5 days of removing from the seed, 60%, 61% germination occurs in BL3. When we mechanically damage the seed after removing the fruit, we found that 87% germination observed in case of BL9. Similarly, treatment treated the seed with 5% H2SO4, and after removing from the seed, we found a 77.5% germination observed in 5 days after removing from the seed in case of BL10. These are some photographs of research work. Air layering is not possible in this case. We have done the work at least 2 years, but we can't succeed in this. TSS content is non-significant, reducing sugar is non-significant, total sugar is non-significant, but vitamin C content is significant. There is significant difference in this. Maximum vitamin C content observed in BL5 and minimum in BL8. There is non-significant in moisture content, protein content, and fat percentage, and carbohydrate percent in the kernel. Fiber percent in kernel is also non-significant, and full kernel, when we observe the post-harvest, full kernel percentage by hand hammering is non-significant, and full kernel percentage by stone slab is also non-significant. But when we remove the kernel from the machine, we found there is significant difference. Maximum kernel percentage observed that is 85.4% in BL3 and minimum 77.2% in BL7. These are the fresh seed, and these are mechanical process of Chironji extraction. These are our glimpses of some work. Summary. When we observe the phenological study of Chironji, we found that phenological studies show that there is wide range of variation in Chironji as a fruit crop. Overall, phenological studies show that the Chironji fruit crop BL10 shows best result. When we study the propagation of Chironji, sexual method of propagation is the best method of propagation for the plateau of the Chotanagpur travels. In sexual method of propagation by seed mechanical damage the seed after removing from fruits within 5 days after maturity gives best result, that is more than 85% plant in case of BL2 genotype. In case of study of the fruit as a Chironji, a study on fruits of Chironji, nutritive value of Chironji BL10 is very high fat content, that is more than 59%. It's very good for dry fruits. But in case of post-harvest Chironji, processing of conversion of Chironji nut into full kernel involves different method of extraction, which included by hand hammer, by stone slab, and by use of machine. The extraction by machine is the best extraction of the kernel, that is more than 80%. These are the researchable area which are possible to do the research in future case. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Singh. And any query or clarification from Dr. Singh? Anybody wants any clarification?
Sir, they can write in chat box actually.
Okay.
Then we can take a question from chat box.
Okay, okay.
So please you call next presenter.
Yeah, next presenter is Amaluddin from Navsari, Gujarat. Amaluddin is present. Dr. Amaluddin from Navsari, Gujarat. Is it present? If he is not present,
no, he is absent.
Absent. Now next is Kamal Kishore.
Same situation. Kamal Kishore.
And
I request to all presenter kindly share your ID to chat box so I can make panelist. Without panelist, you can't share your screen, you can't say any words in this web conference. So kindly share your ID with name in chat box. I'm searching so many times. Amaluddin and Kamal Kishore not available. Manas Ranjan Nayak is here.
Yeah, so now I request Manas Ranjan Nayak to continue your oral presentation.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Dr. Nayak, please.
Yes, sir. Just a minute, sir. I'm just. Control S. Sorry, Alt S.
Yeah.
Just a minute, sir.
First open your PPT on desktop. First open your PPT on desktop, then Alt S.
Yes.
Okay, okay. Presentation mode. Please go presentation mode.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Click. Okay, Dr.
Yeah.
Now proceed.
Okay. Good evening to chairman, co-chairman, and session in charge. Now I am going to present my topic on agroforestry as an option for sustainable rural livelihood security to farming community of India. So if you see the population growth, the United Nations says, but not fast enough to stop population growth. The UN medium level projection is for the world population to reach 9.2 billion by 2050, but still more than 3 billion higher since the turn of the century. This is the world population growth, and in the right side we can see the Indian population growth. So due to the population growth, we have the food crisis. Similarly, we have the environmental crisis. Similarly, so we have faced the different challenges like deforestation. Due to deforestation, there is loss of biodiversity and there is loss of natural resources. So global warming and food insecurity will occur. This is the report of UN report 2014. So due to global warming, lots of things will harm. Particularly highest in the topic, this is the FAO 2013 report, that is plant and animal will more harm, that is 62%. Gradually decreases future generation of peoples in the developing country, likewise gradually decreases, but the plants and animal species will severely harmed due to the global warming. So its solution is agroforestry. So it is an old practice, but it's a new science. So agroforestry is a sustainable land management system where woody perennial deliberately grown along with crop and animals in a same land management unit in spatially or temporally. So agroforestry is putting the right plant at the right place at right time. So agroforestry provides a lot like clean water and air, safe and healthy foods, abundant wildlife, beautiful places, clean renewable energy, and sustainable family farms and ranches. So the key elements of the livelihood, like creation of working days, poverty reduction, well-being and capability, livelihood adaptation, and vulnerability and resilience. Natural resource has been sustainable. So there is different problem. In the previous slide, we have already talked that global warming, degradation land, and poor income generation. So to combating this problem, agroforestry is one of the options. So from this slide, we can find out what is the agroforestry area in India. In particular, Madhya Pradesh, there is highest area in agroforestry. So potential, so there is some potential in agroforestry. It is estimated that 14.24 million to 2.460 million trees outside the forest spread over in India of 17 million hectares. Similarly, it serves as a very good source for the food production along with fuelwood and production of other products. So agroforestry contribute in fuelwood, timber, fodder, food, fruits, livestock, and bioenergy. Similarly, the Green India Mission include agroforestry as a solution of different challenges and problems in Indian agriculture. Production with 1.5 million hectare, 0.80 million hectare on existing land under agroforestry, and 0.70 million hectare of additional land under agroforestry would improve through agroforestry. So why agroforestry? This is come generally in mind. Why agroforestry? So agroforestry It gives higher rate of financial return. It gives self-employment, and it is also soil conservation, atmospheric carbon, and also conserve soil carbon and improve the productivity. Similarly, it's the providing a diverse and nutrient-rich farm produce. Similarly, depends on the natural forest will help in conservation of biodiversity. So agroforestry for rural livelihood support, the tree can provide a range of benefits in agricultural system, like fruit tree for nutritional and medicinal, tree to combat diseases, fodder tree that improves smallholder livelihood production, timber and fuel tree for shelter and energy. So I am to present some agroforestry practices. First one is windbreaks. What is windbreak? Windbreak, planting of single or multiple rows of tree or shrub that redirect or modify the wind are established for one or more environmental purposes. So the benefits of windbreaks are reducing energy cost, screen unsightly areas, reproductive erosion, and pesticide drift protection, plant manage. So we can see the pictorial how the trees or rows of tree protect the crop. Similarly, next one is alley cropping. It is otherwise called hedgerow intercropping. So in alley cropping, growing of annual or perennial trees simultaneously in the alleyway between rows of a long-term tree crop, the agricultural crop generates annual income while the longer-term tree crop matures. So alley cropping provides benefits like diversify farm enterprise, reduce erosion, improve water quality, protect crops, improve utilization of nutrients. If you see the picture, in between the two crop, we can grow the tree. Third one is silvopasture. Silvopasture means growing of tree crop along with pasture or animals. So these are of three types: protein banks, live fences, or fodder of tree hedges, or tree and shrubs. So it provides benefits like improve plant vigor, lower animal stress, reduce wildfire risks. Like the fourth one is forest farming. So the international manipulation, integration, and intensive management of woodlands under a managed forest canopy to produce non-timber forest product. So its benefits like improve economic value or existing forest, diversify income, and increase cash flow. Forest farming, the products like medicine, handicraft, and decorative food products. Fifth one is home garden. It is mostly practiced in the south region, and this is a type of agroforestry practice where many species, tree, bushes, vegetables, and other herbaceous plants are grown in dens. That is multi-layer system, which provides benefits like fuelwood, building materials, spices, cash crop, medicinal, and ornamentals. And another one is energy plantation. Energy plantation, it's a type of agroforestry where fuelwood, particularly fuelwood, are grown with agricultural crop for fulfilling the energy or fuel for the peoples. Benefits like reduce on farm energy costs, reduce resilience of fossil fuel, income source, and improve soil. Then aqua silviculture, particularly in this system, in the bonds of in the farm bond, we can planted on or boundary and the tree species. The leaves are used as a forage for fish. So which provides benefits like fish production, bond stabilization, reducing evaporation, and augment microclimates. I am to present some of the research work taken by the different authors that eucalyptus-based agroforestry. The Haryana Forest Department introduced this eucalyptus-based agroforestry after
Ranjan,
2 to 3
please
years.
conclude your talk.
Oh, okay,
Already
okay,
7
sir.
minutes is over.
Okay, sir. Only 2 minutes are required, sir, only, just to complete. Then comes to popular-based agroforestry. Different short-term forestry systems are remunerative, like eucalyptus plus intercrops. So when it comes to food production, so agroforestry system has more than 2 components, as we know, and there are different systems of agroforestry. So agroforestry can enhance food production through various benefits like resource conservation, soil ameliorate, soil moisture availability, and nutrient and health, enhance rural income. these are some photographs of agroforestry. These are the tree-based system provides the several products, that is fuel wood, green fodder, small timber, pulpwood, and plywood. And these are the some traditional agroforestry system in the semi-arid area. Then in the hilly region, we have to adapt these type of recommended agroforestry practices, particularly in Hisar, Central Plateau of Hills, Western Plateau. This is the some agri-horti system of profitable and provides stable income, that is mango plus green gram, amla plus green gram. This is the wadi system in tribal region where the it's a small orchard of 1 or 2 acre. This is the emphasis should be enhanced survival tree system in rainfed area. So how can we increase income from the farming community, enhancing productivity, adding value of the tree-based product, greaterness to micro irrigation system, removal of restriction on harvest and transport of farm grown wood, and providing minimum support price to the woods. So these agroforestry implementation opportunity like investment, governance, training, reforms, policy. These are some agroforestry implementation opportunity. Then comes to conclusion. As you know, the agroforestry has more than 2 components, which provides the diverse farm product. It reduces the risks of crop failure. So it acts as a insurance crop, and which provides beneficial processes such as biological nitrogen fixation, nutrient cycling, and nutrient pumping, and increase moisture availability. So so there is a future scope of enhancing the productivity by adoption of recommended management practices. The impact of tree system can also further enhanced by scaling up, linking with area-based development program. And policymakers needs to draw their attention to understand fast household needs and knowledge and their strategy in the development of agroforestry policies for the sustenance of rural livelihood. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much for a nice presentation. Now we'll go to next presentation.
Next is Dr. Harita Bolineddy, please.
Okay.
Dr. Harita Bolineddy from IRI, New Delhi. Dr.
Yes,
Harita
sir.
is available? Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I'm there. Yes.
Okay,
I'm just
please
sharing
go
my
ahead.
screen.
Okay, proceed. Now, please proceed.
So are the slides visible, sir?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Very good evening to respected chairman, co-chairmen, organizers, and all the audience. I'm Dr. Harita, a scientist in the Division of Genetics, Indian Agricultural Research Institute, and I'm here to present some of our efforts in the direction of rice biofortification that are being made at our institute. So the topic I have chosen is genetic fortification of rice with micronutrients, a sustainable solution to hidden hunger. So as you all know, like micronutrients, as the name suggests, they're required in very minute quantities. So the name is micronutrients, but they have huge health benefits and they're highly required for proper health and development. So important among them were iron and zinc, which are the mineral micronutrients. Iron, as you all know, is mostly required for the synthesis of oxygen carrying proteins, especially hemoglobin and myoglobin. Hemoglobin makes up about 85% of the blood. So it is also used as a biomarker to identify anemic conditions. And other important 15% is being made up by myoglobin and other proteins. So other essential elements similar to iron is zinc. Zinc is another important essential element. So it is integral part of several enzymes, almost all group of enzymes, and it is required for proper immunity development, cognitive function, normal vision, and also it has a major role in nucleic acid metabolism as it is part of various enzymes like DNA polymerases, RNA polymerases, transcriptases, and transcription factors. So the deficiencies of these micronutrients is a major challenge being faced globally, and the implications are common across the age groups ranging from neonatants or infants to children, pregnant women, and also adults. But the most vulnerable groups are the children and the pregnant women. They're more susceptible to these micronutrient deficiencies. And in case of pregnant women, it leads to severe complications during childbirth, and also in most of the cases, it may lead to abortion. And in children, during early ages, if they are micronutrient deficient, this has a huge impact on their proper growth and development. Especially they will have stunted growth, and their immune system will be impaired, and their cognitive performance and overall performance will be reduced. So the situation is more grim. Like globally, around 2 billion people are suffering from micronutrient malnutrition, especially iron and zinc, and which is almost every 1 person out of 3 persons. So the situation is more grim, and it is also leading to a death of almost 7 million children globally or succumb to these micronutrient malnutrition. And on the other hand, this is also costing a lot on the global economy. Like globally, we are spending about $3.5 trillion to address the challenge of malnutrition. So several strategies are being followed. One is like supplementation, where the mineral and vitamin doses are increased, and industrial biofortification, where the foods are fortified or added with nutrients during the process of processing. And other one is dietary diversification, where the consumption of wholesome meal, like including cereals, pulses, fruits, vegetables, and meat and milk is recommended. But these strategies are like dietary diversification and industrial fortification are expensive, and they are not affordable to low income and poor economic countries. So they're not sustainable, and they also require a lot of recurrent costs. So another major important strategy is biofortification, which means enhancing the nutrient status of the staple foods, the foods that are being eaten regularly, enhancing their nutrient level through various strategies, including the conventional breeding practices as well as the modern biotechnological techniques. So this biofortification is a sustainable solution because it has various advantages, including because we are enhancing the nutrient status of the staple foods that are being regularly consumed by the low-income groups. So the target is basically the low-income groups and people with poor economy. So it is a one-time investment. So all we need to do is to develop a variety, and once a variety is developed, rest will be continued. So it has very low recurrent costs, so no side effects, and it is also not influenced by any policy changes or government-related issues. So this biofortification is a sustainable solution to address the micronutrient malnutrition. So any successful biofortification program, it has various steps. Like first, we start with assessing the genetic variability, and then identifying suitable donors that are stable across the environments, and then followed by identification of the genes or pathways that are responsible for the accumulation of, in my case, like iron and zinc, and then introgressing these genes into popular high-yielding varieties, and then testing these varieties for stability, and followed by seed multiplication and distribution to the farmers and consumers. So in this direction, here rice is a major crop. It is a choice crop for biofortification because it is being consumed by more than half of the global population. And if you see the global map, like almost all the rice-eating nations are highly, the micronutrient malnutrition is more severe in the rice-eating nation, or the people who are highly dependent on rice for their caloric requirement.